All right, we're going to derive the quadratic formula by completing the square. So make sure you're versed with completing the square before you try to understand this. And as we've learned in the past, we're going to divide out the a term so that the coefficient of x squared is 1. So if we divide out by a, we'll have 1x squared plus b over a times x plus c over a equals 0. And we're going to move that c over a to make space so that we can complete the square. So we'll subtract c over a from both sides. It just becomes negative c over a. And now we'll complete the square. So we're going to need to take half of the b term for ax squared plus bx plus c. So the coefficient of x, we're going to take half of it and we're going to square it. And whatever we do to one side of an equation, we have to do to the other. So we're going to add b divided by 2a squared to both sides. Now on the left side of the equation, we can now write that perfect square trinomial as a binomial being squared. And we can also simplify the right side a little bit. So add that x in there. So the trinomial square, we can turn it into x plus b over 2a quantity squared, right? And on the right-hand side, why don't we write the b squared over 4a squared minus c over a. So we just reverse the order there. And we can kind of clean up the right side by having common denominators. So I'm going to multiply c over a by 4a over 4a. So remember, we're multiplying that term by 1. 4a over 4a is 1. And let's neaten it up. So when we have common denominators, we can write them as one fraction. All right. So let's just let's neaten up our steps here. So we have 5 steps. And now we're going to come up to this upper right-hand corner of the screen. So let's rewrite step 5. And let's take the square root of both sides. So we're trying to derive a formula for the roots of a quadratic equation, the x-intercepts on a graph, the zeros. So we want to figure out, we want to get x by itself. So we're going to take the square root of the left-hand side and the square root of the right-hand side. Now the square root of a square is just whatever's inside. So we'll have x plus b over 2a by itself now. And on the right-hand side, we can, we'll leave the numerator underneath the radical because the two terms are separated by subtraction. But we have one term down here that we can simplify as 4a. So let's move the b over 2a over to the right side by subtraction. All right, and we'll put it in front. So it becomes negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And we have common denominators already, so we can neaten it up as one big fraction. So the quadratic formula is x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So fill in steps 6, 7, and 8 there. And, since I'm going to, as usual, share this screenshot in Google Classroom with you, so you'll have this as a, set of notes you can look at. Let's go through the steps. So the first step was dividing by a. The second step was basic subtraction. In step 3, we completed the square. That's a little messy. We'll redo that. In step 4, we wanted common denominators. In step 5, we combine them. And then up top, we took the square root of both sides of the equation, right? Now, remember, when you take the square root of something, you have both the positive and negative roots. So we want to move that b over 2a over to the other side. So, steps 6 and 7, getting down to the quadratic formula, are just repeat steps from the left side over here. I hope that this was as enjoyable it was for you when I was in 8th grade, and I distinctly remember the day.